Hello everyone. Thank you very much for joining this tutorial. And today we're going to talk about page view and specifically talking about how to master page view. So in my particular case, I'm using page view for book reading. So what that means is that I am actually having like a whole book separated by different PDFs. Like first page is one PDF, second page is second PDF, and so on and so forth. So I'm separating every single page in a different PDF, and I'm actually using page view to create a reader, and it's actually an online book reader or e-reader, electronic reader, so to say, in Firebase. So, of course, you can also use that with images if you want to, or any other widget from Flow that you want to use with PageView. It's not supposed to, or it's not particularly you have to use it with PDF. But today we're going to use it with PDF, and I'm going to show you how I implement it. I'm going to show you uh, also I have the left and the right buttons over here, so you can go to the left page or to the previous page or to the next page, and I use the drop down to actually select if a user wants to jump to a specific page, you can use this button over here. I implemented bookmarks as well. I can show you that as well. I also have and very important feature that I implemented is that I'm also saving when the user uh, reading to a particular page. I'm actually saving this page, so the next time they open this book, it will automatically jump to this page. So let's say that the book has 100 pages and the reader has reached to page number 10. Next time they open the same book, they will automatically jump to the page number 10, so that they don't have to remember which page they were on. So I will show you all that I'm talking about now. So let's jump into it. So let's talk about. So let's actually show you, sorry, a demo first. So those are my books. It's in Bulgarian. Yeah, sorry about that. But those are my books, and I will click on this book over here. And when I click over it, you can actually see that it's loading, and now it's opening page number 9. So I can actually see the page number over here on top, and it takes some time to load the page, but this is the page, and here it says 7, but this is because I have a book cover, and I have like a one page after the book cover, which are still counting as pages, right? So that's why I have 9 over here. So let me show you. I can click on the previous page using this button. So if I click on this button, it's going to 8, and this should be 6 right now. So you can see it over here. I can also slide, because this is a page view. I can actually slide to the left and right. So I can slide to the right, for example, this will go to the next page, and I can slide to the left, and this will go to the previous page, which also works. So you can actually use both methods, and I implemented using those. So if a user thinks that it's easier for him or her to use the navigation buttons, they can also do that. So if I click on this button, it will go to the next page, and if I click it again, it will go to the next page, which is page number 10. And also I implemented the drop down. So if a user, because this book is actually a very big book, it's like 200 pages, and if a user want to jump to, let's say, to page number 80, for example, they just click it from the drop down, and now it's page 78, which is actually page 80, and I can still use the previous and the next buttons, and I'm still going to the next page. Another thing I implemented is the bookmarks. So for example, if I click on the bookmarks, you can actually see that I have 81, page 81. And if I click on the bookmark, I can just write name of the my bookmark, like something that inspired me or something like that. But in this particular case, I'll just write 81, for example, which is the page that is going to open. So I just know that this bookmark is going to open this page. And this is for testing purposes only. So I'm going to add it. And when I added it, it's automatically closing. And if I open it again, you can actually see that already open. And now if I want to jump to page 20, for example, I can just click over here and it will automatically jump to page 20, and you can actually see it over here. And if I want to jump to page 81, let's say, I'll just click on 81 and then it will jump to page 81. And then if I want to delete the bookmark, I just press the delete button and now it's deleted. And I can add, I just show you how you can add, and you can close it from using this button, of course. And then watch here. So now I am on page 81. So if I go back to my old books, and if I click on this book, which we were reading, and it's supposed to just jump to page 81. So let's click it over here. We wait a little bit to load. Now it's loading the first page, but now you can actually see immediately jumps to page 81 and it is loading page 81. So it's actually remembering. If I jump to page 82 and I keep on reading till, let's say, page 85, let's say, and now let's wait to load. It's now loading. Go back, click it again, and it should load page 85. So let's wait. Exactly, this is page 85. So that's it. That's the demo, and let me show you how I build it. So there are a couple of things that we have to start with, and that's the essentials. So let's start with the essentials. Let's start with first the page states that I have. So I have a couple of page states. The first one is total pages, and this is an integer, and this will be the total pages of my document or of my book in my case. And then I have pages URLs. So those are all strings, and those are pages URLs or pages of the books now that I'm going to take and then use them to open whatever page I want to open. Then I have the current page integer, which is the number of the current page. Then I have the initial load. So that's very important to have this boolean, and this will actually tell to the page that this is initially loading. Don't when you move after the initial loading pages, it's actually having some logic in it. So that's why I need the initial loading to know where I first move the pages to the one that the user actually stopped, or the user wrote read. uh, and that's why I'm using this initial pages. And then I have open page and close page. That is actually where I'm saving when the user first at the day. So I'm just using days. And if a today user opened this book, for example, I'm saving the open page and the close page. So the open page, let's say, for example, the user opened it at page 80, but then it closes to page 85, or let's say 120, for example. So that means that the user read like uh, 30 pages or so on, and I will know how many pages the user have read for this particular day, and I will know what was the page that the user closed this book at. So next time the user open it, I will actually know which page it was, and I'm actually going to save that in a database. But of course, you can also use like an app state for that, so you don't need a database at all. You can save it in the app state, or you can use API calls. I'm using API calls or Firebase or Supabase. It doesn't really matter what backend you're going to use. And then we have this run API, which means that the API is running. Don't It's a boolean. Don't execute some other logic when the API is running. Great. So those are my page view states, and let's jump to my on-page load. So on-page load, I have actually I have one API call. So this API, the reason of this API call is to actually get me the URL links and also what was the page that the user finished when they were reading. So I'm passing the book ID and I'm passing a hash. So this is the hash of the user I'm passing. So I know that this user, so I know I have to know which user is reading, right? So there are different users of the applications and they are reading different books. So that's why I'm passing like the user using a hash. You can think of it like an access key or access token, and I have this book ID. And then when this is successful, what I'm doing using this, I'm passing the list of strings of the page URLs, and I'm actually creating them using this custom function. It's a very simple custom function, and I'm actually creating the links using this custom function. And I'm passing the book ID, I'm passing the token, and I'm passing the total pages. So the total pages actually are coming from the API call. So the API call is actually giving me the total pages. It's important to know how many pages I have because I'm building like I said with the custom function, I'm building the URLs. Great. And then if I click on update widget state, I have this open page and close page, and those are those are page states. And if I click on continue reading, I again I'm getting this from my backend. So from my backend, I'm getting the continue reading, which is the last page the user has finished or closed the book at. So I'm passing this in an open page and a closed page because when a user first opened the book, it will be the same page. For the today, it will be the same page. Great. And then I have this continue reading. So if continue reading is more than one, that means that the user have actually opened this book previously. So that means that I have to jump to a specific page that the user have finished when they first or where they last opened the book. Another important thing is the action for is I have a delay or wait of 2000 milliseconds, which is around, I think, 2 seconds. And the reason for that is that I need to wait for the API code to execute, and I need to wait for the URLs to be created using the custom function. I need to wait for those things. Um, and if I don't do that, it will actually not work. It will not jump to the page. I tried like different things, but it will not jump to the page that that I needed to. And the action 5 is page view, and this is a page view controller. The name of the page view is page view, and I have this action which is jump to index. And the index that I'm going to jump is actually because this is a zero-based index. So it's because of an array, and an array starts from 0. So that's why I have to actually say -1. So that's why I'm using code expression over here. So if I click the argument is coming from the API code, which is continue reading. And I am actually, like I said, doing -1. So that means that if the page is 10, for example, the index of the page view is not 10, it will be 9, because the first page in the page view it's 0, the second page is 1, and so on and so forth. So that's why I'm doing that, and I'm actually jumping to that page over here. And then action 6 is initial loading. So when everything is loaded over here, I'm going to say initial load. This is again a page view state, and I'll set it to false. And the reason for that is that every time I'm moving a page, I'll show you in a bit, but every time I'm moving a page, I'm actually having some backend logic. And I don't want to run this backend logic if the user did not move the pages. If the pages were moved initially by the on-page load, I don't want to do anything. So that's why initial load is true at the beginning, but then after everything was executed over here, after those 5 actions were executed, then the action 6 will be to initial load set value to false. And then my last action over here is run API, which means that now you can actually run the API calls, which will be, in my particular case, will be to save the open page and the closed page. And I'll go into every time a user is sliding pages or going to different pages, I'm going to send an API call to record and to save it in the database which page the user is loading, and the user is open the book and it's closing the book. So I have to, because I don't know when the user will actually close the book, so that's why I actually need to uh, load or to send API call for every single time that the user is going to it's going to close the book, right? Because the user can actually read the book and then close the whole application when they're on page, let's say 50, for example. And if I don't record that on every single page, I will lose this page 50. So next time they open it, it will go back to page 20, let's say, for example. So that's my initial logic. Those are my page parameters. So you can actually set them like I did over here, and then set the logic of your on load actions like I showed you on over here, like mine. So let's move on actually to the second thing, which is how I'm actually moving the pages and how I'm loading the pages and how I'm moving the pages. And so I'm going to show you that now. Okay, so let me show you on the page view. And if I click on actions, I have 3 actions. So those are on page slide. So that's very important. It's on page slide. So on page slide, I actually have this closed page. So every time a page slices, I'm actually updating the closed page. So the closed page is actually updated, and um, I'm using a code expression to add 1 to this number, because like I said, this is index based. So the index, so the page, and I'm taking the page view current index, but this is actually an index that, like I said, it's 0 based. So if I want the real page, I should add 1. So this is an integer. This is going to give me an integer, and I'm going to output the return type will be an integer again. So, and like I said, I'm just adding var1 plus 1. That's everything that I'm doing over here. And then I have the set form field. So what is the set form field actually doing? I'm having the drop down, as you can see over here. So I'm having the drop down, and I'm just moving or setting the drop down to the page that was moved. So every time a user slides to the left or the right, I'm changing the drop down value as well. And the drop down value is coming from, again, from the page view current index, which is the integer. And then I'm just adding 1, and I'm converting it to string, because this time I have to return a string or else it will not work. The drop down needs to be a string and not an integer. So this is what it's doing over here. And then the last thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to say is a run API. So run API means that I want to run the API and then save the current page that the user is in. And like you saw, initially it's false, but when everything on page loads, is actually changed on run API true, And now if a user moves a page, it will actually fire all those actions, and the last action is action 3, which is going to fire the API, which is actually saving the page, right? So we have the again the hash of the user and the book ID, we have the open page, we have the closed page, and we have the user status also. So I'm actually using the user status because it depends if the user is admin or if it's a regular user, because for statics purposes, for stats purposes, if because I'm the admin, let's say for example, and when I'm testing, it's keep on recording that I'm reading a certain book, and when I have the stats, I want to ignore all the admins or all the operators that are reading some books for testing purposes only, and I want to only like when I executed stats, I want to only execute the real users and not the admins or the operators. So that's why I have this also in my database. I'm saving what is the type of the user reading this book. Great. So now let's actually move on to the pages, how the page was, how I set it up to when the page is moved. So when someone clicked on the left button, it's very easy. I just have one simple action, which is the page view controller, and I just wrote it previously. So previous, sorry, and this will actually load all those actions which is on page slide. This will load it from here, and then the next button, it's again one simple action, page view controller is the name of the controller, and page view action type, it's next. So previous and next, those are. And if I click on the drop down, I have those actions which are a little bit more complicated. So let me explain it to you. So I have the initial load, which is initially this load, it's false, and I have if it's false. So sorry, the initial load it's true, of course, and when it's loaded, it's false because it's already loaded, so it's false. So I'm just checking if the initial load is false, which means that this is true. It's a little bit complicated. It's a little bit tricky. It's not complicated, but it's a little bit tricky. But you get the idea. And then if I click on update widget state, I'm going to say initial load to true. And the reason for that is that when I move the pages, I don't want to get any of the data mixed up. So that's why I'm doing it like that. So because I'm going to move pages programmatic, let's say programmatically, or I'm going to move the page. So the user is not going to move them manually, the pages. The pages are going to jump from, let's say, from 20 page to 50 page. I don't want to score all the pages, so to say. So that's why I'm setting up the initial load to true, and then I have this jump index. So the jump index in this particular case, it's going to come from the drop down, and I'm converting the string to an integer. So of course you can do that using a code expression. You don't need to do it with a custom function. I have a very simple custom function which is actually converting it, and I'm also having this -1, of course, because the page it's the index, actually it's no based, so I need to send the index and not the page number. So that's why I have -1. So with that is actually jumping through that index, and then the final thing here is to set again to false the initial load. Great. So I think that's everything. And yeah, actually, I forgot to mention maybe the most important part, or one of the most important parts, which is very simple. It's the page view. Actually, you don't have anything in. I don't have any. At least I don't have anything in add background queries, but I have in generate dynamic children's. And this is actually the value. It's coming from the page state, and those are page URLs, and those are actually all the URLs of the pages, all the URLs of the PDFs in my example. But like I said, it could be like images to you or whatever widgets that you're using. And this is actually coming and and supplying the data for generating children. That's the way I built it, and that was actually working. All other ways that I tried did not work for me. So yeah, I would definitely recommend you to try this way, and it should work. Because the page view should dynamically generate the children when the page loads. And this is actually not loading all the pages. People were thinking that this will load all the, let's say, 300 pages of the book. No, it's not. This is going to load only the first page. Only the pages that are being viewed by the user are the one who are going to be loaded. So don't think that this will load like 300 pages and user have to wait like 5 minutes to load 300 pages, something like that. No, it's not. This is not the case. And you saw the demo actually. This is not the case. And then I have the page, and I have only one page view, so that's important as well. I tried it to make it as simple as possible, so I have only one page view, and the one page view I have inside a PDF, and the PDF is actually a network source, and this is the page item, which is coming from, of course, from the dynamic generated children. If I click over here, this is what I'm using, page item. Great. So let me actually show you the bookmarks now and how they work. So the bookmarks is I have this button over here, which I'm going to use for bookmarks. And I have a couple of things in the bookmarks. So first of all, I'm opening a bottom sheet, and then I have the bookmark equals to 0. So where is this bookmark coming from? Is actually coming from the bottom sheet. So if I click on the bottom sheet, now I have this bookmark is the name of the bottom sheet, and I'm using the components actually name is bookmark, sorry. And I'm passing two parameters. The first parameter is the book ID, and the second parameter is the page that the user is currently on. And then I have this page to go from, and then I have this condition, which is if its bookmark is equal to 0, that means that don't do anything. But if it's not equals to 0, that means that the user have actually clicked on a bookmark and the user wants to move to some different page from the bookmarks. And then what I'm executing, again, the same thing like the drop down. First, the initial load is going to equal to true. And so I want to mess when the pages are programmatically jumped to. The second thing is page view jump to index, and the index is actually coming from the bookmark. And the bookmark, I had to save it in the app state actually. I tried like passing it through the bottom sheet because I think you can pass through the bottom sheet, but did not work for me, to be honest. So that's why I'm putting in the app state. And using this app state, I'm going to jump to this page. And then I have initial load, and I have set value. It's going to is equal to false. And the last thing is that I'm going to set up the app state to bookmark to no again. So don't forget about that. You need to set up the bookmark to 0 again. So the next time someone clicks on the bookmark, it will not jump to that index. So this is very important. And this is actually coming from the app state. And if it's 0, don't do anything. But if it's something else, jump to this false. And another important thing, I think the most important part of the bookmark is that when you open a bottom sheet, because this is opening a bottom sheet, when you're opening a bottom sheet, all those actions that you see over here will be actually executed after the user closed the bottom sheet. So that's very important. To be honest, I'm not using that a lot. I forget about that. So Josh actually suggested me and helped me, and he helped me with the two or three things setting up this correctly. So yeah, that's very important. I always forget about that. But when you open a bottom sheet, you actually you can have actions after that which are going to be run after users are going to close the bottom sheet. So that's very important, super important to know. Great. And then let me show you the actual bookmark. It's I think relatively simple. So on load first. So first I have this local component states, and I have bookmarks, and this is the list of bookmarks, and I have the default page, and I have the integer. And the bookmarks I'm loading it over here, and I'm using this component state, the bookmarks. I'm using it over here to load my bookmarks, and on uh, component on initialization, I'm actually getting the bookmarks, all the bookmarks. I'm getting it from the API call, and if it's successful, the API call, if it's successful, then I'm just placing all that is that I have in the JSON body. I'm placing it and I'm setting it to bookmarks list of JSON. So this is going to give me a list of JSONs. Great. And then I'm displaying a single, like the name of the bookmark. I'm displaying it with the JSON path.name, for example. And then I have this icon, which is a trash can, which when clicked is actually going to delete the bookmark. So I have this API call, which is I'm sending the hash and I'm sending the bookmark ID. So when someone clicks on it, I'm going to delete the bookmark using this API call, and then to remove it from the users to be able to see it, it's actually update widget state, which is a local state, and then I have this bookmark list, and I have remove from list, and I'm passing the whole item. So that's very important. I'm passing the bookmark item for that. Um, like I said, so this is very important, and it's working actually. You probably saw it in the demo. It is actually working. Great. And then I have this close button, which is when I just click it, it will actually close it. And then I have when I click on the name of the bookmark, it is actually going to set the bookmark, which is an upstate. This is an upstate this time, and the value is going to be set to using a code expression. Is going to use string in this time, number to page. So this is the page number that is coming from the API code. That's why it's JSON, and this is a string. And then I'm returning an integer because I need an integer for that. And then I have this int.parse, and I'm parsing this string to an integer, and I'm having -1. So because this is a no based, the page view is a no based list, so that's why I'm doing that. And the last thing is just dismissing the bottom sheet. So when someone clicks on a bookmark, I'm updating the app state and dismissing the bottom sheet. And then when I dismiss it, it will actually run those actions over here. So let me just show you again. It will actually run those actions. From here, it will run those actions. So for example, if it's page 5, it will run all those actions. If it's bookmark is 0, it will not run anything. It will just close the bottom sheet. Great. And the last thing, it's adding a bookmark, which is very simple. Actions is just API call, and then I have the hash, and I have the book ID, and then I have the name, which is coming from the text field. As you can see, it's coming from the text field. And the last thing is the page. And the page is actually coming from the page parameter, because every time, if you remember, every time I open the bottom sheet, I'm actually passing this. And then finally, I'm closing the bottom sheet. And like I said, every time I'm opening bottom sheet, I'm passing the book ID and the page. So that's how I know what is the book and what is the page that this bottom sheet was actually open to. So that's about it. I hope you learned something from this tutorial, and let me know in the comments if you have any questions. And before you go, actually, thanks for watching this video, but please help me to reach 4,000 subscribers. And when I reach 4,000 subscribers, I actually have a surprise for every single subscriber that I have. I will shuffle them and I will do a live session and I'll announce the winner. And what will be the winner? The winner should be a subscribe to the channel, and the price is this one. It's a Flowflow swag actually. I want to give to one of my subscribers. Like I said, it will be a live session when I reach 4,000 subscribers. And this Slack is actually have a t-shirt, the same that you see over here. It has stickers and it has a mug. So it's pretty good mug that you can drink your coffee or tea or whatever you like to drink from it. And like I said, I will give this to one of my subscribers. So please subscribe to the channel. And also, I'll do a live session. So it should be in the live session when I reach 4,000 subscribers. And I'll just pick from wherever who is subscribed. And it is in the live session. And I'll pick a winner. So he or she can immediately DM me the address, and I can send this Slack box. So please subscribe to the channel to have a chance to win this amazing Slack box. I just want to say that the paid membership for YouTube is now open, so you can be a paid member to my YouTube channel, which means a lot. And thank you very much for all the people who are right now paid members to the channel.